Smash Knits knitting podcast. My name is Ash, aka Smash, and we're back. We are back finally. This is 2025. It has been long overdue, and I apologize. Life has just been pretty crazy. I feel like every time I make a podcast, I say the same things, like life is pretty crazy, it's pretty hectic. But it is. I feel like there's always something going on, but I think that's just life, isn't it? Now, I am trying not to be too loud, only because John is in the other room. And so if you hear me like kind of be a little bit more quiet than I usually am, it's because John is sleeping in the other room. He's like a first responder, so he has night shifts. So that's why I'm a little bit more quiet and not as I don't know what's the word, boisterous, I guess, than I usually am. Now, I realise that the light is getting really bright in here, so I might just try and adjust the exposure because it is getting really bright in here. Okay, adjusted. Yes, so what's been happening in my life? I'll give you a brief little update. Before we get too much into it, I am going to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. Okay, so life update. Obviously, we're not in my lounge room anymore. I have actually moved house. So in February? I don't know, January. I guess it would be January. In January, we moved house. So we moved literally 5 minutes down the road. However, it felt like I was moving across the country because the amount of stuff that I had to move was insane. I didn't live in a very big place. Like John and I didn't, it wasn't, it was a 2-bedroom townhouse. It wasn't a lot of room. Hence why we wanted to move, but also because they were selling the old place. So we kind of had to move anyway. But we had been thinking about it for a while, and this kind of just like lit a fire under our bum to actually go and move. But we apparently were really, really super efficient at packing all of our stuff into that house and concealing it. And so when we decided to move, we were like, oh, look, we'll save some money. We won't move hires. We won't hire movers, and we'll do it ourselves because it's only 5 minutes down the road, right? And before that, we like moved 25 minutes. So we got movers because it was like, oh, it's going to be a while. Like it's going to take a long to do a lot of trips. But this time we were like, no, we will do it all ourselves. Just the biggest idiot mistake that we've ever made. Luckily nothing got damaged. However, it was just, we decided to move at just the worst time. Like it's summer here in Australia. And so it's been really, really hot. And during this kind of 2-week period in which we were moving all of our stuff, it was the hottest we've had in a while. Like it was 35 degrees to 40 degrees Celsius, which is really hot. So I think it's like, I don't know, like 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not too sure. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But it was really hot. So we were like just sweating and trying to get stuff into the house. It was just really hectic. So that kind of just like sucked the energy out of me. But we did move into a slightly bigger place. But yes, sorry, going back to what I was saying before. Yeah, we had to move so much stuff. It turned out we were like hoarders or something because I'd never seen so much stuff before in my life. I don't even remember half of it. So a lot of the stuff we donated or we got rid of, because if I haven't missed it for the last like 2.5 years, I'm certainly not going to miss it if it's gone. So there's a lot of sorting. There's still a lot to do around the house. So that's kind of why I have not been posting on my social media or on like, I've also posted like a couple of posts on Instagram, but I wouldn't call that posting. But that's why you haven't really seen any podcasts or videos from me recently, because I've just been trying to recover from the mental and physical effort of moving. Apparently someone said to me that moving is one of the most like stressful things that you can do. I think like divorce, moving, and death and stuff like that is like some of the most stressful events in your life. So I definitely felt that for sure. And of course, like when we're moving, other stuff is also happening. I have had a lot of social events to go to. So I've had 3 weddings this season, 3 of my dear friends. So I'm not complaining at all. That was so fantastic. Like I absolutely loved every second of going to those weddings. Like it's just so special to be part of someone's like special day. So I am definitely not complaining, but of course that obviously takes some like mental energy to organize everything, especially if you have to go away and, you know, getting what you're gonna wear, like just the logistics of it all can be quite intense. So I'm just trying to I just feel like I haven't had a spare minute to kind of sit down and do this, and when I have kind of had time to myself, I've just really wanted to relax, you know. And it was getting to a point where I was getting kind of sad. Oh, don't pity me, but it's like, I don't want you to feel sorry for me or anything like that, but because of pretty much since I released my last episode, like, you know, through Christmas and then like through that period of moving and everything, like I hadn't knit for a very long time. Like I am someone who religiously knits every single day. Like I get up early in the morning at like 5:30 so that I can knit before work. So like knitting for me is a huge part of my life. Like I knit before I go to work. Sometimes I take my knitting at work and I knit on my lunch break. And then I'll knit after I get home from work. So like knitting is a huge part of my life. I do it every single day, but I hadn't done it in like over a month, and that was something really big for me. And I could tell that John was kind of getting a bit concerned for me because I was just so stressed and so exhausted that I couldn't even do the things that I wanted to do, like the things that I enjoy. And so he's a big gamer and he would be like sitting at his computer gaming, and I would be like jealous of him because I'm like, I wish I could just relax and knit, but I literally just couldn't. I didn't have the mental energy to do that, which is crazy because, you know, how weird is it when you knit to relax and to calm down and like regulate yourself, but you're so stressed and so exhausted that you can't even do that. I was like, I need to get back. So once we kind of were in here for a couple weeks, then I picked up my knitting needles and got knitting, and I felt a lot better. And because a lot of the projects that I had done around Christmas were kind of at the end of their needing to be finished, I feel like I like knocked quite a few things off the list quite early, like quite quickly, I mean. So that felt really good and kind of got me back into knitting. And so I'm so glad to be back because it's just been like so hectic. And you could tell my mental state by the fact that I've cut my own bangs. Like I didn't get a haircut, I cut my own bangs. So you know it's bad when you're cutting your own bangs. Like John said to me, he's like, are you sure you want to do that like right now? Like what if it doesn't go right and you know you've already got a lot mentally going on? And I was just like, let's just do it. Let's just cut my own hair. Like sure, I've never done it before, but let's do it now. Luckily it turned out like fine. Like I didn't like cut like a baby bangs or anything like that, so not too hectic. I'm quite lucky that it wasn't too hectic, but I have to admit the layering is horrible. Like I did a horrible job. I'm kind of low-key embarrassed to go see the hairdresser to be like, I cut my own hair. So that's another problem. That's a future me problem. Anyway, that's my life update. Just a quick ramble, so that you know, you guys kind of get an idea of what's going on currently. But I know that you guys want to see what I'm knitting. I have a lot to show you. I have some sewing to show you. I never really have sewing, but again, like around Christmas time, I had a little bit of time off and got like heavily into sewing again, and you'll get to see that as well. So I'm still knitting related technically. If you follow me on my Instagram at smash.knits, you would have seen I posted a post on there, so go check me out on there. I do post more regularly than I do on YouTube there, so feel free to follow me over there if you like colourful, fun knitting things. Now, like, this is kind of the setup I've got going on currently. I've got like my yarn here. You would have seen this in my old house, this kind of like IKEA cube setup. But then I also have the green chair. The green chair is back. So if you've been following me for a while, you might have seen that I had a green couch, a green velvet couch, but it also had a matching chair, which is my reading chair, but it was sitting in the the garage for the longest time, but I love it. I love it so much. I got it secondhand, and I got rid of the couch, like I donated it, but I couldn't part with the chair because I just love it so much, and I love that green. So that's my reading chair there, and that is my Stella quilt cushion that I made, which also hasn't appeared in a video in a very long time, so I'm glad to have it out for you guys to see. I have big plans for this room, but big plans require big money, and considering I just moved and I just got a new car, it's not a first priority for me right now. Yes, but I'm very excited to have my own space and have my own office. This is like my own craft room. What the hell? Isn't that like every knitter's dream to have their own craft room? It's certainly mine. At knitting group, when my friends were talking about their craft room, I was so like, oh, I wish I had a space that I could like keep all my yarny goodness in, and now I do. Now I have that space, so I'm very lucky, very fortunate. Anyway, let's get into the knitting stuff. Okay, so like always, I will have everything linked down below. I will also have my Ravelry down there as well. I try to update my Ravelry as like frequent as I can. So for the finished objects that I will show you today, I should have all of the weights of the yarn and everything that I like, the yardages, meterage that I use. I try to update my projects frequently. I recently did a purge and got rid of a bunch of projects. I frogged a bunch. There is a video, I hope, if everything goes right, coming up soon where I show you going through all of my whips, because it was crazy, guys. It was insane. So for example, I probably frogged like at least 60% of my projects. At least, like, I think that's a conservative number, 60%. I think it was more than that. And I still have like 11 whips currently. So, and I've only cast on one new one, which is a beanie, which you'll see. But the fact that I had 10 after purging all of those, yeah, I had a lot. I don't know the exact number because I have to go through and like actually physically count through all the footage of me like deciding whether or not to keep them. But there was a lot. Like, comment down below how many whips do you think that I had like before frogging them. How many think that I had, because I think I had a lot. Like, I'm a serial caster runner, so I'd be very interested to see what you guys think, what the number would be. And, maybe I'll give away a little prize or something. Like, if you get the right number, that would be so cute. Maybe I'll do a little prize if you actually guess how many it is. I'll give you a little prize. Yeah, that's fun. I like that. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one that you saw for the first time in my last podcast episode, and that is now finished, although I haven't trimmed all of the ends. It is blocked, but I haven't trimmed the ends. I've weaved them in, but I haven't trimmed them. I'm trying to tuck in all the ends. But that is my Staffin Vest. So I'll show you. Yes. So this is the Staffin Vest by Creia Bayer, or Rebecca Clow as she's known. She's a Scottish knitwear designer in Scotland. I think she lives in Edinburgh or just outside of Edinburgh. But she makes and designs these beautiful size inclusive patterns, and she had put out a call on her Instagram for a test knit for this vest, and as soon as I saw the Instagram reel of this beautiful textured yumminess, I had to apply. I don't apply for test knits often, even though I have another finished object that is a test knit. I just saw this vest and I thought, well, one, I'm a vest queen. I love a vest. I think this is my third vest that I made, which I don't think making 3 things makes you a queen in it, but I love making a vest. It's quick, it's easy. Most of the time they're cropped and I don't have to do sleeves. So what more can I ask for? And I was just so in love with this pattern. I just love the texture. I will try and show you. So it's got 2x2 ribbing detail like panels. Then it's got these little like things called Estonian buttons, which are so cute, which I really prefer compared to like eyelets. I think they're cuter and funner. And then you've got these lattices, and then you've got, again, like it repeats all the way. And then on the collar and on like all of the ribbing and the bottom and everything, it's got 1x1 ribbing. So it's very like, gives the vibes of that one petite knit sweater that's kind of like got the textured panels, but I much prefer this, and this is size inclusive, so you know, everything's great. Now this construction is very similar to other Rebecca Clow garments that I've made. It's even very similar to kind of a lot of different constructions where you do like the drop shoulder and you like pick up from the back. I don't know what that kind of construction that's called. Like, I think it's called contiguous. I'm not exactly sure, but it's where you start the back panel and knit like a trapezoid kind of shape, and then you pick up along like these two sections here and knit like little panels and connect them in the front. So you can see like these really cute details where you've picked up, you start doing Estonian buttons, and it creates this really lovely join, and I really love little details like that. Now I am knitting, well, I knit this actually. I knit this in Sandnes Garn Sunny Lime, held together with Little Woollie makes Lacy Fluff. So the Sunny Lime is the 100% wool that I'm using, and then the Little Woolie's Lacy Fluff is the soft silk mohair, kid silk mohair that's held with it. I originally, when I first knitted this, and a lot of people had the same issue when I first swatched, is that the gauge for this is really large. So the gauge, I think it's something like 16 stitches per 10 centimeters. So it's quite large. It's like a worsted weight gauge. And I thought that I could get away with using 2 strands of the Sandnes Garn Sunny Lime. So Sandnes Garn Sunday, Sandnes Garn Sunday in Sunny Lime. Because sometimes I feel if I hold 2 fingering together, I can get away with it like a worsted weight. But this was definitely not working, because you knit this on a 5mm needle, and I just felt like it was too gappy, wasn't giving me kind of the look that I wanted. And then everyone had kind of the similar issue where they were using like a DK or maybe like a light worsted or something, and they were having the same issue where just like they couldn't meet gauge. So I had to pop out to the shops and get some lace mohair, and thank goodness Little Woolies had it in like the perfect, beautiful, acidy, lime greeny color. It's absolutely fabulous. Like, oh my god, it's so fabulous. It's so green, and I just like love it so much. It is very, very bright, and I would say that it's longer than what I usually like to knit my vests. Like, most of the time I like my vest to be quite cropped, but this is like a full length one, which I don't know if I fully like. Like, of course you can stop and crop it if you want, and I think I would do that next time, just because when I put this on after blocking, I was like, oh, it is really long. Like, it's not long where it goes like crazy over my bum, but it is like a full length normal vest. It's not like a cropped vest, what I'm used to. So this is definitely one that I'm gonna have to tuck in, and I'll try and insert some B-roll so that you can see. Yeah, but other than the length, I really, really love it, and I think it's so soft. It's like, it's heavy, but it's still drapey. And I think that's just because there is like a lot of yarn here, and it's lovely and soft. Like, the mohair, of course, like is going to provide me like with a lot of warmth, so I can't put it on now because I'd boil to death. Like, it's not even a hot day today, but it's just genuinely hot in Australia right now. In the winter especially, I think, because I've booked accommodation to go to the Australian Sheep and Wool show in Bendigo. I went last year, and I'm gonna go again this year with John. This will be perfect because it gets really windy there, and this will keep me nice and warm. I've worn it like once around the house on a colder morning, and it was fine, as long as I wear something like this where it's like a full length shirt underneath. I find like a lot of different mohairs itch me, but I just love like the look and properties of mohair so much that, other than getting fibres everywhere, that I just love using it so much. So I would definitely knit this pattern again, but maybe not knit it the full length. And then I know she has like a jumper version of this as well, and I think it's a cardigan. It might just be a jumper, but I would definitely be making the jumper version of this because I think it's a fabulous pattern. It was really intuitive. It was super easy to kind of get your head around the pattern repeats. The Estonian buttons are so fun. I love doing them, and I'm hoping to do more patterns with them in there because I think they look just like so crisp and so clean and so cute. I think they're a fabulous feature, and yeah, I really, really like this pattern. I have no complaints other than the length, but I love it. One thing I do want to note about the yarn is it's very soft. Both the Sandnes Garn Sunday and the Lacy Fluff by Little Woollie makes is both very, very soft. I will say, and I mentioned this in my other one, I think that the Sandnes Garn colours are a lot brighter online than they are in person. I feel like they're a little bit more dull in person. Not that they're like not bright, but they're like dull. Like the Lacy Fluff is like definitely giving it this acidic colour, not the Sandnes Garn. The Sandnes Garn is a little bit more toned down. So just keep that in mind when you are shopping online, that they're just not as like vibrant in person. That's going to happen because you see it on social media and you see it in like photos, like of course they're going to like enhance the saturation, like of course. Now I'm covered in like a bunch of tiny little like green fuzzies, and I actually was on talking to Sarah from Sarah Handmakes the other day, and I was just talking about how like I can't try this on. I have a cream shirt that I love, and I can't wear this with a cream shirt or like any type of cream or brown pants because I literally look like Shrek when I wear it. Like if there is a Shrek birthday party coming up soon or any kind of Shrek themed event, I'll definitely be wearing this vest because it gives very Shrek energy. I don't know if that's how I'm built, but yeah, it's definitely Shrek colored. Also, this is just a note for me. I obviously have to edit these videos, so I have to watch myself. And when I first started editing, I hated it. I like cringed so badly watching myself back. I couldn't stand watching myself. Now it's normal, but I do pick up things like all my likes and stuff like that. And it does like irk me a little bit, but particularly in my last podcast, for some reason, every single word in the universe, like, left my noggin. And the only word that I could think of, the only adjective that I could think of was obsessed. So if you go back to that video and you watch it, I say obsessed for everything. I'm like, I'm obsessed with this and I'm obsessed with that and I'm just obsessed. I say obsessed a million times. Nobody commented it, and I brought it up in my knitting group, and I think I brought it up to my mum actually because I think she watched it. And they're like, oh yeah, you did say obsessed a lot. But no one told me to my face, but I knew and I brought up and they agreed. So I say obsessed so much in that video that it's prompted me actually to make a little list of phrases that I can say instead of obsessed. So I'll be casually trying to incorporate those into my vocabulary rather than saying obsessed all the time, because yeah, that was literally the only word that I could think of, and I used it to describe all of my projects, which is super, super unhelpful. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show you is another test knit I finished. This is the Mountains and Sea sweater by Sarah from Sarah's Handmakes, and this was a test knit that I was doing, probably like November, December, and it's this big, fluffy V-neck jumper. This beauty is a DK pattern with 2x2 ribbing. It's a V-neck. It's quite a deep V. You've got 2x2 ribbing on the sleeves as well as on the bottom, and it's got this fabulous like stepped split hem on the side, which is so gorgeous. And I knit this in Drops Air in the color Sweet Orchid. It's this really beautiful kind of like vibrant purple lavendery color. It's like lavender with a hint of pink. It's like very much a pastel purple, and it's gorgeous. Like you can tell from the Drops Air, it's very, very, very drapey. It's a very drapey jumper, and it's also very warm because the Drops Air is very fluffy. So if you're not familiar with Drops Air is a blown yarn. So it's kind of like where it has like a core and the fibers are blown into it. So it is 65% alpaca, 28% nylon, and 7% wool. And it is traditionally a worsted weight yarn, but I used it as a DK weight because it's got like that blown construction. You can kind of like squish it down, and I really liked how the color looked in this pattern, and I really liked the kind of stitch definition that it gave. Like I feel like it's really nice and neat when it's at a smaller gauge, because when I swatched with a larger size needle, it looked a bit messy. So this particular jumper is knit on 4mm needles, so the entire thing is knit on 4mm needles, including the ribbing. And yeah, it was Sarah's first ever pattern design. And I think for a first ever pattern design, she's done a fabulous job. I think a V-neck sweater is something really fun to tackle, and I just find it absolutely stunning and really, really nice. It is extremely warm. The yarn is so intensely warm that I cannot wear it at all, pretty much. I haven't been able to wear it at all. I will definitely have to wait until in the depths of winter to be able to wear this, because it is so extremely warm. All that fluff, especially knit at a denser gauge, makes it super toasty. I think someone commented on my last video saying that it's the warmest jumper that they've ever made out of drops of air, that they can only really wear it when it's really cold. And I would have to agree. This is only going to be broken out probably in the mornings in winter, or in the evenings, or if I'm going anywhere where it's particularly snowy. This will be the jumper that I wear. Now, this particular jumper has quite tapered sleeves. When I first knit this, I didn't like the tapered sleeves, and I'm still not 100% convinced. I feel like I go back and forth. It depends on how I feel. Sometimes I really love the tapered sleeves. I'm oh wow, it looks really nice, because it doesn't make me look boxy, and it means that I can roll up my sleeves. But then sometimes if it's I think it's only because I've tried it on hot weather. I think because when I tried on hot weather, I'm oh, this is really warm and really tight to my body on my arms. But I think when this will be really good when I am in winter and I want to layer up or wear a coat or something like that. These won't be too bulky. I did, however, knit I think to the pattern, but I think my sleeves are way too long. I definitely, when I wear it, and again, I'll try and insert some B-roll, I have to wear it like this, with the sleeves kind of cuffed like that, because it's just, for some reason, this blocked out really long. The sleeves blocked out really long. The body is perfect length, but the sleeves are really long, so it looks kind of funny. But yeah, I think it looks really, really nice, and really nice and warm. Would I use drops of air again? That is the question. I don't know. Again, I feel I'm not doing it justice, because I've only tried this on in the warmer weather, but when it is on my body, it is kind of itchy. And I thought because it's an alpaca that it wouldn't be itchy, but it's itchy. And it really makes me hesitant to wear this, because I love the color so much, and the yarn is relatively affordable. So I was really hoping this would be wow, amazing. It's affordable, it's available, it comes in an array of fantastic colors, and it's soft and it's drapey, and I can wear it, but it's a little bit itchy, to be really honest. But again, I can't fully give my full opinion until it gets colder and I can actually wear it. And I might 6 months from now check in with you and be wow, this is my most worn sweater during winter. So I don't want to say anything that I might end up eating my words later. Now, about the construction of this sweater, it is a raglan sweater. So whereas the previous one before, it's not a raglan, you do pick up stitches. This one here is your traditional raglan, so you don't have to pick up stitches, and you just increase out from 4 spots across the body. I really like that Sarah's done this, had 2 extra stitches, I think, or 3 stitches or something in between the raglan stitches, and it's made it give this really nice defined kind of faux seam. I really love that look. I love a thicker raglan. That's something I really love about it. Again, I just kind of want to wear it, but it's too hot. I think as well, I think my hesitation around the drops is not only that it's kind of itchy, it's also just because I didn't really enjoy the knitting experience. So it's super grippy, and I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that I was knitting it on a smaller gauge than it's meant to knit on. But for me, I just felt I couldn't get the normal kind of rhythm that I usually get with knitting. If I'm using just kind of obviously a superwash or anything without any fluff, even so with a silk mohair, I can usually get into a rhythm where it's kind of sliding around on my needles, and I can just kind of really get into a rhythm where it's giving me enough kind of pull so that I can knit without having to exert much effort, use much force with my hands. But when I was knitting this, I really did have to pry the stitches apart so that I could knit, and I'm not a particularly tight knitter, and that just made my hands really tired. It made me not want to knit on it, because I just didn't I just didn't have that rhythm, that flow state that I would get with a single strand or, just softer, less grippy yarn. I don't know if this is something that like other people have issues with if they use like really like rustic wool or anything like that, or if it's like an alpaca thing, or it's just a particularly like a drops air thing. I'm not too sure, but yeah, that was just something that I will keep in mind going in the future, depending on whether I want to knit with it again. So another finished object. How many do I have? I think I have 2 more after this one. Yeah, I think one's sitting behind me that I have to grab actually. But this one here, you would have seen me just be absolutely obsessed with. But I absolutely adore this particular finished object. I feel like I finished it pretty quickly considering there was a massive break in between my knitting. But this is the Midland Neck by Laura Penrose, and this is a dickie, so you wear it over your head. I'm actually going to put it on, even though it's you can tell the sun is like blaring inside here, but I really have to do it justice for this one because it's just I just can't get enough of it. Okay, let's try this. I feel like I'm being birthed. But anyway, okay. So, it's so cute. I just love it so much. So this is my Midland Neck, and it is a DK weight pattern where you hold like a strand of fingering and a strand of lace, or you can do just plain DK, but it is this gorgeous kind of dicky design where it's fully garter stitch and you knit across that way. So rather than knitting downwards and having the garter go across this way, you actually start at the edge and work across, and you do like short row shaping to shape the neck and the shoulders and things like that, so that you can pick up stitches later to do the neck. And I think this is just a perfect winter accessory. I think it's just a perfect autumn, any cold weather, any time when you kind of like got a little bit of a chill. I think it's really nice. I think dickies, I never had a dickie before, but I understand that the concept is that they are usually something that you pair underneath a coat or something like that. But essentially what it is it gives you warmth on your chest and on your back, and just keeps, your arms free and stuff like that, which is great. Obviously, if you're layering coats, you don't have the bulk in your sleeves, but it also means that it's kind of like, I don't know, I envision it. I wore it the other day to go pick up my car because I had to catch the train to the dealership so that I could pick up the car and drive it home. Normal stuff. And it was cold in the morning, and I had this on underneath my coat, and then I took off my coat and was just wearing this on the train with like a long sleeve white t-shirt, and it was perfect. It was like, it reminded me of, when you're in bed and you're a little bit warm and you stick your leg out of the bed or out of the doona or duvet or whatever, and that kind of like perfectly regulates your temperature so that you're like nice and snuggly, but you're also not too hot. Well, that's how I feel about this dickie, is that like my arms are out, so my arms are like not too warm, and I'm not getting too warm underneath here, but it is keeping my chest and my neck toasty, and it's just like the perfect kind of temperature regulation. I really, really love it. I knit it in these 2 yarns. I actually have them over here. I knit it in this, which is Qing Fibre's super soft sock in Cherry Hill, which is like this gorgeous kind of, it's got like a light pink, peachy pink base with like peaches and greens and yellows, and I think it's really fabulous. And then I held it with Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Poppy Rose, which is like a peachy pink color. I feel like Ballerina is a lot more muted, whereas this is like a bit brighter, and I think these pair really, really perfectly together. I'm trying to show you so that you can really see the colors, but the lighting, I'm still working out the lighting in this room, and I think it worked out and it looks fabulous. I think you can really see the lovely garter stitch. I did alternate skeins pretty much the entire time knitting this. It wasn't too hard because most of the time when you're doing short rows, you're going back anyway. So I would, every 2 rows essentially, I would be alternating, I would changing the skein, just because with hand dyed skeins, I didn't want it to pull in one particular area, because the 2 skeins were actually quite different. One was more like of the Qing fibre, one was quite a bit greener than the other one and one was quite pink, and I wanted both to show through, but I didn't want it to pull, and I think I did a good job. I think you can really tell, like, well, can't tell, I guess, that there's pulling and things like that. I think it looks good. I'm very proud of this, and I'm actually so shocked at how practical and lovely this is. I was also, of course, really worried that because it has mohair in it, and I'm particularly itchy to mohair, that I would just like want to rip this off my skin. And when it's cold, no issue whatsoever. I think they're knitting for olive in that particular colorway, because I have heard that sometimes different colorways can be different kind of textures, but I find in this particular colorway, this mohair doesn't cause me to be too itchy. It's a little bit itchy now because it's warm in this room, but when I'm wearing it and it's cold, I have no issues. And it's this gorgeous, like, got this 2x2, just your 2x2 ribbing on 2x2 ribbing on the neck. So you could, like, if you wanted to, not make this so long and like have more of like a mock neck, but I really liked it as the traditional fold over neck. And in the pattern she has two options to do one like that's a bit more loose if you are using a base that is mostly wool, or you can do one that's a bit tighter if it's like more of a, if you want like a more of a tighter collar. I went with the loose one because I knew that I was particularly itchy or like sensitive to mohair, but I think it's fine. I think I did cast off. I did use an Italian bind off. I really like it. It comes to just about here, just underneath my chest. And all of the edging is finished with I-cord. So you can see that. Yeah, all the edging is finished with this beautiful I-cord. Oh, paired with the garter stitch, just stunning. And then on the back, I'll show you. You can see that it has this like lovely kind of faux seam that looks like I-cord as well. Can you see that? Yeah. And it's just fabulous. I just love it. Yeah, like I said, I cannot get enough of it. And I can't wait for the weather to cool down so that I can wear it, because I think it's so lovely and so practical. What else have I got to say? Yeah, I use about 500 to 800 meters of yarn in DK weight. I used approximately around 600 to 650 meters of yarn in a DK weight, and I think that's really good, because if you have like I feel like we have DK weight left over all the time. I think it's my most frequently used yarn weight. I think having a project that's around like 500 to 800 meters is really handy, and it's gorgeous and I love it, and I'm very excited to maybe in the future knit another one. I should also mention that I used a 4.5 millimeter needle on most of like on the body, I guess, and then I use a 3.5 millimeter needle for the ribbing on the neck. I had to take it off because it was getting a bit warm in here with the sun. It's like overcast today, but the sun keeps changing, and I have the door closed obviously because John's in the other room, so I'm gonna try not to wake him up. I'll show you a bit closer, a bit better. That faux seam, it's on the back, so it's across the shoulders and creates really nice shaping for the shoulders. And yeah, this the color, you can really see the colors, those pinks and yellows and greens, the garter. Yeah, I don't know, are you seeing that? Am I showing you well? Yeah, I love it. Really, really gorgeous. The drape, fabulous. It's a bit longer at the back than the front, obviously, to accommodate for the shoulders. Yeah, it's super drapey, super lovely. Definitely want to make, like, I want to make another one because I found it quite fun to do. And I really enjoyed the short rows, which is like, you know, a lot of people kind of don't like short rows, but these aren't German short rows, they're slightly different short rows. And I think learning new techniques of short rows is interesting because the concept overall is the same, but it's just fascinating how you do things slightly differently. Like I just thought it would be like a rectangle that you knit downwards, but the construction is very fascinating, and I think that's why I enjoy watching Laura Penrose and I enjoy her patterns so much, is because I don't have one of those brains that can be like, oh, I understand that and I can do that better, and I'm going to try and figure it out. Like, she has this mind where, like, really an engineer's mind, where she can look at something, knit something, and feel like, oh, you know what? I think I can do that better. I think I can knit this in a different way, or I think I can make up a different technique or use a different technique in which it will produce like a better look or a better experience or a better fit. And she's always like actively trying to do that. And I find that fascinating, and I feel I'm so envious of that, because I wish I had a mind like that. And that's why I really enjoy her patterns, because even though I might look at it and be like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know how this is constructed, there are little details in there, or little choices that she makes that impact the overall look and fit that only she, I feel, would be able to think of those things. So yes, I'm really, really utterly enamored by her skills, her designing skills. It's just so amazing. I really do admire knitwear designers. I don't think I could ever be a knitwear designer. I think if I was able to design anything, it'd probably be a sock, because it's so simple. And there's really not a lot to add. Like, I'm not really reinventing the wheel. But yeah, like it really does fascinate me. And I can't say enough good things. And if you need something that's going to warm your chest and be a really quick, easy throw on, because I know you can, scarves are usually used for warming the chest, but I feel like sometimes when I have like a long scarf, I have to fiddle with it to get it right, to make it sit right. This, I literally just have to literally just whoop over my head, fold over the collar, and I'm done. There's no like fiddling about with trying to adjust it to make it look good. This is definitely something that I'm like, oh, it's a utilitarian piece. It can be pretty and utilitarian, but it's definitely like going to be a workhorse in my wardrobe. This next finished object I've been working on for a while, since the beginning of November, and it is now the beginning of March. So it has been, what is that? It's been like 4 months that I've been working on this. 4 months? What? Really? Damn, it's been 4 months I've been working on this socks. That's crazy. Usually if I really try my best, I can get a pair of socks out in like 2 to 3 weeks, like a sock a week, if I'm just exclusively knitting on them. But damn, it's really taking me 4 months. Well, it's taken me 4 months to make these socks, which are my Summer Lee Colorwork Cuff Club. And this is the November chart, like I mentioned before, which is this gorgeous Fair Isle pattern. And if you're not familiar with the Colorwork Cuff Club by Summer Lee Designs, Summer Lee, first of all, she's a prolific sock designer, and last year around August she released what's called the Colorwork Cuff Club, which is essentially a like one-time membership. Like, you pay once and you get a new Colorwork cuff like chart, so like this, every single month for a year, and you just input it into the base pattern that she provides you, which is just like a basic sock with a slip stitch heel, which you can see there. They're usually themed to the month. Like last month it was February, so she had ones with like little hearts because it's Valentine's Day. She had a Christmas one for Christmas. She had like a spooky ghost one for October, and for November she did this really fabulous Fair Isle pattern, which I am looking in the viewfinder, and I just love it. It's got these gorgeous X's, and it's really simple color work. I don't think I had 2 catch floats once during this. Now, she does usually give you, if she doesn't give you like a couple of options for the colorwork cuff for that month, she also does give you a couple of like different kind of colors you can use. So this is like obviously like the 2 color option where you're just using the base color and then like a contrast color, but she also has a design where she does like multiple different colors in the same chart, and that looks fabulous too. But I just hate weaving in ends. I've tried making Colorwork Cuff Club ones with different colors, and I find that I just like never get around to making the second sock and never get around to knitting in weaving in the ends, because I'm just lazy and I don't want to do it, and kind of those types of barriers really stop me from finishing a project. So I knew that with this one I think it would look fabulous anyway in a single color, and I think it really does. It really pops. And then I just added the blue toe because I wanted to just do something a little bit different, just tie in the color. I'm not totally convinced that I love the blue toe, but I don't know, you're not even going to see it if it's in a shoe anyway. Really love it. I love the concept of the Colorwork Cuff Club. This is probably one of the longer charts, but even still, like, I feel like it didn't take very long. With every sock that I make out of her Colorwork Cuff Club, I just do a 2x1 ribbing on the cuff, and then of course like the slip stitch heel. Oh, I should also tell you what yarn I'm using. This kind of beautiful mild grey is called Light Grey, and it is from Lang Yarn's Jawoll Superwash 75-25. So that is a 75% Corriedale wool and a 25% nylon. So it's not your normal merino. I think it's still lovely and soft, but just feels a bit more hard wearing than a merino sock. I enjoy knitting with it. I think they have just an extensive range of colours in that particular yarn, and I like that you can buy them in 50-gram skeins, because then if you're doing like colour work, you don't need to buy a full 100-gram skein, and you also don't have to wind them. They're already like in a skein, so you don't have to use a ball winder. They also come with this nylon thread, which I'll grab. This nylon thread in the middle of them, and you're meant to pair this, well, the idea is that you can use it when you're doing the cuff and the toe to add more strength, so that you don't wear through the socks as quickly. However, I don't really wear my socks, you know, I have a lot of pairs of socks, so I rotate around a lot. So I don't wear one particular pair of socks a lot enough to wear through them. Plus, I have used that once, and I just found that it, like, when I held it with the main strand, it just like made it really bulky, and I didn't really like the knitting experience. So I just omit that whenever I am knitting socks. And then the blue color is the Woollen Works fingering sock in the color Flat Feet, which is part of her Barbie collection. It's this beautiful electric bright blue. It's stunning. It is 80% merino wool and 20% nylon. So it does feel like softer than the Lang Jawoll, but not enough for when you're wearing it really to feel a difference. There are two things that I did want to mention in this particular pattern that I don't think I've mentioned or briefly mentioned in previous podcasts, so that I would like to mention now. So in a lot of Summer Lee's patterns, when she's doing a like slip stitch heel and you're picking up stitches along this area here, she picks up 16. I don't do that. I always pick up half of what the stitch count is. So for example, if you're doing a 72 stitch sock and half of that is 36, then I'll pick up 18 stitches along that edge. And then what I will also do is that I will pick up an extra stitch from the like row below when I get to this corner, so that I can like minimize or prevent a like hole from appearing there, because I know sometimes people get holes there. That's what I do, and that's a method that I learned from the Crazy Sock Lady. She does that in her YouTube tutorial. Check that out, it's absolutely fantastic. It's literally just called like vanilla socks on 9-inch circulars, and she shows you in that video how she does that, and I've been using it ever since, and you can see there that there is like no hole, and it works every time. It's really easy. Essentially, you're just knitting through the back loop once you pick up that stitch from the row below. It's a very handy trick. And the reason why I do pick up more stitches is because I have a wider arch. I have like wider feet, and so that just gives me a little bit extra room in this area of the sock, rather than having it too tight, because a couple of people that have knit or like done the 16 stitch pickup have noticed that it is a bit tight for their wider feet. So I would encourage you to just like pick up more stitches in that area. Yes, it is more knitting because you have to like decrease those stitches when you're doing this. However, you know, your foot fits in the sock, so the benefit is outweighs the hassle of knitting more. Another thing that Summer Lee tells you to do is that when you are knitting the color work, to size up a needle. So for example, For the like foot of the sock and anywhere that isn't the colorwork, I'm using a 2.25 millimeter needle, like a circular, 9-inch circular. But for the colorwork portion, I use a 2.75 as she recommends, and I would recommend doing this. I know a few people have said like, oh, I don't want to do it because I don't like how big my stitches look, but if you wanted this to fit over your foot, I would highly recommend it. And I don't think you can even notice that the stitches are much larger. I think it looks fine. And I think it's very, very helpful to be able to fit your foot into your sock. So also having a pattern that doesn't have like any floats also helps, because floats tend to like prevent the fabric from stretching. So the fact that this has like, I'm pretty sure I didn't have to pick up floats or like catch floats for any of this. I think it just like makes it a lot easier and a lot more wearable, and you can fit it on your foot. And I just do like a normal long tail cast on. Like I used to do like a German twisted cast on, but it would take too long to cast on, and then I thought, no, who really notices anyway? Nobody, because they're all the way down on my feet. So I'm super glad to have these finished, have 2 finished socks. I am like smitten by this color. I'm so glad I went with the grey and blue. I'm in love with them, and I love them so much, and they're going to be definitely one of those socks where I'm like, they're too pretty to wear, I don't want to ruin them, but I might break them out at Bendigo just so I can have a little bit of fun. But I love them. I'm super obsessed with the November. I said obsessed. I'm super smitten, I guess I should say. I am smitten with the November chart in particular. I did make a hot water bottle cover for my mum using the same chart. It's a fabulous chart, and I'm very excited to knit more. But I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break this month of March from the Colorwork Cuff Clubs and do a cable knit sock that I really want to do. That's from the Summer Lead book that I've just had the perfect yarn for ages. I've been eyeing it off for ages, and I'm wanting to knit it for ages, and I'm just really wanting a simple cabled sock. I feel like I've done pretty well with the Colorwork ones. I think this is my 3rd one. I think I did August. I don't know if I did September, but I've done October and I've done November. Maybe there was another one, but I think it's been 3 or 4 that I've done. So I think I'm going to branch out and maybe do some, cable socks next. But I have a goal this year. I have many goals this year, and I don't know if anyone wants to watch. I thought about making a video, but then I thought, is it too late in the year? I don't know, but I have some goals and plans that I want to do for 2025 for my knitting, and I don't know if anyone would want to hear that. So let me know down in the comments if that's something like a video that you would like to see, like my 2025 goals or resolutions or kind of plans for 2025. I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to hear that, because I feel like all the time I make plans and then I always deviate from the plan. But I don't know if that would be useful. Let me know if you want to hear that in the comments down below. I have one more knitting project to show you, and then I have a few sewing projects to show you, which are, well, not a few. Technically they're all the same thing, but just different variations of it. But I don't actually have the knitting project here because it was a gift, so I can't show it to you right now, but I will put up a picture of it. You would have seen it in my last podcast. It is a modified Oslo hat by PetiteKnit. It is a hat that I actually made. I keep saying making, but I've already given it away. That I made for my friend. He had a very similar beanie when he was a kid, and he wanted to recreate it. And so I took the photo and experimented a bit with the colorwork, and we ended up making a very, very similar one. The base yarn, all the yarn that I'm using for it is the Bendigo Classic, and the colors are teal, blueberry is like the purpley color, and then I think it's called Almond. The Almond is the white color, and I took a very long time to get this beanie done. I told him when I first was kind of commissioned, I don't know, I'm not getting paid, but when he first asked me to make the beanie, I said, yeah, no worries, like I usually knit like an Oslo hat in a week, like no big deal, I can do that. And then months later I'm like, I'm working on it, I promise it's coming. I did have to start it like 3 times, frog back and start again, because I didn't have a colorwork chart, so I was just working off a picture, trying my best to get the proportions right, alter the stitch count, but I think in the end it looked really good. I haven't actually seen him in it because I gave it to my boyfriend to give to him because we're all like friends, but he really loves it, and him and his mum, like his mum thought it was really nice, and they gifted me some chocolates as a thank you. So I never expect anything in return when I do gift my knits, because I literally knit them out of pure love. So I'm always happy to get something in return, but I never expect it. I'm not going to talk too much about the Oslo hat because I've knit a million, and I'm sure everyone on planet Earth who can pick up a couple of needles and some yarn has probably seen it or knit it. But essentially it is a 8-ply stockinette beanie with a triple folded brim, and the way that you knit it is that she gets you to just cast on and knit essentially in the round until you knit like about that much, and then you fold it over, sew it down, and that way you have like a double layer, so that when you fold it up it's a triple folded layer. I do not like sewing down things. I'm not very good at it, and I don't think I have the patience for it. So what I do instead is, instead of just casting on and knitting a tube, I do a crochet provisional cast on, and then when I get to the point in which I want to knit those two layers together, like connect them, rather than sewing them down, I'll put the stitches that I put on the provisional cast on another circular needle the same size. Like the cord length is the same size, it doesn't really matter what the actual needle size is. And then I essentially like knit two together the entire way around, kind of like a 3 needle bind off almost, but you're not using 3 needles. Yeah, essentially you're just knitting two together, but the stitches are just on 2 needles held right next to each other. It's hard to demonstrate because I don't have like the beanie in front of me now, but if you go on YouTube and you search crochet provisional cast on, there are like different techniques and stuff like that you can find on there that are really helpful. And essentially that's just what I did when I was first learning how to make an Oslo hat. I have made probably 3 or 4 now, because they're just really simple, easy, transportable projects, and I love giving them as gifts because it's not like a sock or a sweater or anything like that where you need like full body measurements. So it's a lot easier to knit for people because you can kind of estimate, oh, this is how big their head is. Now, moving on, we're going to get into the sewing project that I've been doing, which I'm very excited to show you, and I am just completely just can't get enough of making these. Alright, so which one should I show you first, because there's so many good ones. I've made, let me have a look, I'm gonna grab them. If you have seen or watched me before, you know that I have these, I'll grab it, that I have these project bags, and these are by PetiteKnit, and they're wonderful drawstring bags with like a little handle so that if you're knitting you can hold it like that and knit. They also have pockets on the inside, and then they do have a little keychain thing here as well, but I never really use that. But they're just really cute drawstring bags that are lined, and I really love them. And she released the sewing pattern for these bags, and this is called the Marshmallow Bag. And I've always wanted to make my own one because there's so many fabrics that I always see in Spotlight whenever I go in there that I'm like, ooh, that would make a cute project bag. But I just like, I don't know, I just haven't been into sewing. Like I have a sewing machine, but I haven't like sewn anything in a very long time. Like before now, I think it had probably been like 5 years or something crazy. Or other than hemming up a couple of pairs of pants, I hadn't like sewn an actual object. And so I just decided one day that like over the Christmas period that I am going to get back into sewing, and this is what I decided to do. So this is what I decided to make. I also was a bit nervous because again, it had been a very long time since I had sewn, but also I had never bought a pattern from like an individual person before. I'd always bought patterns from like Spotlight, where it was like a traditional pattern where you cut out the pieces and stuff like that. So I always found those super confusing, and so I was a bit nervous. But one thing that really reassured me was that PetiteKnit has video tutorials for all the techniques that she uses in her pattern, and that just like made it feel a lot more approachable, because even though I do have sewing experience, I was still a bit nervous that I would like come to a roadblock, not be able to pass it, and then be like, well, what do I do now? I'm sure I could reach out for help, but yes, having those tutorials was super, super helpful. And so I'll show you in order of make. So the first one I made is this one here. Oh my god, it's so cute. So this one here is in this really gorgeous kind of like, I think it's like upholstery fabric actually. Trying to show you the colors in the light, but it's got like a really kind of pale creamy pink tone, and then has all these lovely wonderful colorful flowers all over it. And it's a little bit smaller than the other ones because I was a little bit more kind of like strict with the cutting and everything like that, but I've got this little handle here, and then the drawstrings, I found these pink ones, and it's really good. It's got like box corners. It was my first time doing box corners, and I just really love how this turned out. Then on the inside, I've got kind of like a matching light pink fabric. It's coming up kind of cream, but it is like a light pink fabric on the inside. And we've got the pockets as well. I didn't use that little key ring thing. I didn't do the key ring because I never use it anyway, but I just love it. I think the finish looks really professional for something that I've never made before. Like the edges look nice and crisp and clean. Everything just looks really well put together. Like you start off by like doing these quilting lines, you can kind of see there on all of them, and I think that really helps with the sewing process because it keeps everything in place. And the fact that this is like a lined project bag that I made myself is pretty incredible. Like, that's pretty awesome. So that's my first one that I made, and I love it. It's probably one of my favorites that I've made, and it's just so beautiful, and I'm super proud of it, like for being like my first project bag and like having it go so successfully. And I think that again is like the pattern's well written, the video tutorials help. There was at no point that I was like, what do I do? Because I could just watch the video and find out. I just think it's just fabulous. After making this first one, I literally made this one, and I think I had fabric for another one, and then the next day I went straight back to Spotlight and bought a bunch more fabric, a bunch more thread, a bunch more like materials to make more, because this one took me one day, and then the next day I think I made 2, and then I made another 2 after that, and I was just like cranking these out. I was absolutely hyper fixed like no other. I was just so focused in on making these that I ended up cranking out 5 in about 4 days, I think. 5 and 3.5 days. Yeah, I was an insane person. I was like staying up to like the wee hours in the morning just cranking these out. And then when I sent photos to a couple of my friends, be like, look what I made. They're like, oh my god, are you selling them? I was like, no, I just love making this. I just love sewing this so much, because it's kind of coming from knitting where something, it never really takes you a day. Like it always takes you like a week, at least a week, to go into something that you can like whip up in a few hours and have it be like fully completed and look really lovely and professional, like gorgeous. It was like a high. I was like a high of sewing these. It was pretty crazy. Wow, yeah, so crazy. Crazy for me. And I have a tiny table. Like I was doing this on my dining table. My dining table was literally like 1.2 meters by I think 0.8 centimeter. 0.8 meters. So it was a tiny table, and I'm just like sewing my little heart out. It was great. And because the pieces aren't very big, you don't need a lot of room to cut it out. Like I said, I was working on a small table versus when you are like knitting, I keep saying knitting, versus when you are sewing like a garment, like a dress or a skirt or a pants or just something, you usually need more room to lay out the pattern pieces to cut them. This, because there are smaller pieces, it's very easy. You don't have to, you don't need a lot of room to make these. So there's my first one, so cute. And then from there, I really wanted to make something with like a white base. And so I made this one, and this one's really gorgeous. It's got all these little bit hairy, because they've been like thrown into bags and onto couches, so the cat's probably like slept on them. But this one's a really cool kind of check pattern. It's got like greens and purples and pinks. And I've just used like white as the kind of accessories, but on the inside, and that's again like it's fun because it's lined, you can go a little bit crazy. And on the inside of this one, I decided to do like this really limey yellow green, and so it matches the limey yellow green that you see like in the pattern of the check, you've got this really awesome limey green on the inside, like yellowy. I don't know, it just reminds me of lemon sorbet. Like that's the color it reminds me of, lemon sorbet. And it's so cute. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't like align everything perfectly on the bottom. Like, I'm not that good. These are just for me, but I just think they're so cute. And you can tell that each one's is unique, where I've like cut a little bit more here or sewn a little bit lower there. Like, you can tell that like this one, their top is a little bit more like short versus this one. You can see it's got a little bit more frill, and I prefer this one, but that's just stuff that you have to kind of experiment with. So this is the second one I made, and then I think I made this with this one. Yeah, this one is my favorite, my absolute favorite, and you would see all these on my Instagram, but this is my absolute favorite one. This here is this gorgeous, oh my god, this gorgeous check pattern as well, and it's beautiful. It's got these mustards and the pinks and the blues, and it's just divine. I'm obsessed. I didn't do a terrible job of lining it up on the bottom, not great, but I definitely feel like I'm getting a lot better at like doing my boxed corners and everything, and just little details like the frill. I feel like is the perfect size, and you can see like I've matched the blue well, and I've got this like, Jesus, I've got like this, it's falling down. Like, I've got this kind of like denim blue handle with the white, and then this on the inside is this gorgeous sky blue that matches the sky kind of blue on the check. Oh, it's so gorgeous. I keep looking in the viewfinder just to make sure that you guys can actually see what I'm showing you. But yeah, that's what it looks like. It's so gorgeous. I just love them, and I really want to make them for people's birthdays, who like obviously people who knit and stuff like that can use them. I've been a bit slack. I've missed a couple of birthdays because, you know, got a lot going on, but it's so gorgeous and so cute. And I love it. So this is my favorite one. And then I wanted to get a bit more fun, and rather than like experiment a bit, and rather than doing like a pattern on the outside and then a plain color on the inside, I decided that the next one I was going to do would be the opposite. Now I should have put like a lint roller over this before I showed you, but that's too bad, we don't have one. But this one here, you can see, is this beautiful, like just absolutely fabulous, really bright royal blue, like super bright, very very bright. Really wanted like a really standout blue, but like I said, instead of doing the pattern on the outside, I decided, ooh, I'm going to do the pattern on the inside. So it's like a little secret. So when you open it up, it has absolutely fabulous, I think this is like Liberty fabric. Got it from the quilting section. But yeah, it's this absolutely fabulous floral blue, and it just like gives me very like 60s 70s curtains upholstery vibe, and it's just gorgeous. I really wanted something really heavily patterned, really fun to go on the inside, so that when you open it up, it looks really fun, and it's a little pop of surprise, and you can just barely see it when you look at the top. A little hidden secret in there. So that's another one. And again, I'm just working through, I'm just pumping them out. And then lastly, I have this one. I don't have anything in here. I should probably, maybe I'll put something in here so that it fills it out a bit. But then I have this one, which is a really kind of gorgeous, like a native plant, like a wattle pattern on it. It's got like pink bits and teal, but it's like this light bluey green pattern. All the fabric, all of the materials that I use, all from Spotlight. Yeah, it's just cotton fabric, so that it wasn't stretchy. And then on this one, I've got I matched the kind of tealy blue of the fabric for the inside. And again, they all have 3 pockets. They all have 3 kind of double layered pockets and a drawstring. Really cute, really lovely. I think I have enough medium-sized project bags for now. I don't think I'll be needing any more anytime soon. I have like this plus my 2 PetiteKnit ones that I bought from her Etsy. I think I have 7 in total of these marshmallow bags. So I don't think I'll be needing any more anytime soon. She does have another quilted bag design on her website, but you can only buy it as the finished object. You can't buy it, the pattern, and make it, but it is a larger size one, so I think that would be like better for sweaters and things like that. So I'm hoping that she releases a pattern, because I would like to make some bigger ones as well. So they're so gorgeous, and I feel like they're just really nice. Like, boxing out corners, thought would be way harder than it is, but now that I know how to do it, I'm like, wow, that's so cool, I can do that. It just made me really confident about my sewing skills going forward, and I really wanted to make more stuff. Yeah, the only thing that I probably will note is that, like, I use like some iron-on wadding, and I don't think I ironed it on long enough, or it's like not thick enough, because I feel like the PetiteKnits bags, I feel like they're a lot plumper. So maybe in the future I'll maybe do like a thicker wadding, or like a double layer of wadding, because I would like them to be a bit more quilt-like, a little bit more like they do have like that quilt, obviously like the quilt line sewing there, but it's not as like puffy as like her ones that you buy from her. So I think I need to get like thicker wadding. But again, this was like my first time doing this, so I'm learning. It's all a learning process. And then I wasn't going to mention this, but I just realized that I have it right here, but I also decided to make a little project bag. And so, oh look, like I boxed those corners real good. But this one here, again, is fabric from Spotlight, and this is just like a little one to keep. I've got like a pair of socks in there at the moment, but yeah, perfect for socks, perfect for small stuff. And yeah, super cute. This is a different pattern from Etsy. I can't remember the name, but I'll have it linked down below. But it comes in like multiple sizes, but essentially it's just like a zipper pouch that's lined, and you box out the corners, and it's got like this like contrasting fabric. This was actually took a lot longer and was a lot harder than any of those bags. Those bags are something where you're like, oh, this looks really complicated and really hard, but it's actually not at all. The way the pattern is written is super well written and makes it really easy and really simple, and like you like it makes sense. The processes make sense. This is like similar, like it definitely makes sense, and it's well written pattern, but because there just are a lot more components, like you have to do a zipper, you have to like make sure that this is like aligned when you do like box out the corners and stuff like that. This was just a little bit more complicated than those. So it took actually way longer. Like I think I could make one of these a day. I could definitely make 2 of those a day. But I'm very, very proud of my work. Like I feel like I've never sewn a zipper in my goddamn life. But I think I did a really good job. I know it sounds so conceited. I know that sounds so terrible, but I really do feel like I'm very proud. I'm very, very proud of myself. Like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I don't really have, like, I have whips currently, but I don't really have anything active because I recently just finished my socks and that beanie, my Oslo hat. So I don't really have anything to show you whips wise because there wouldn't be any updates from when I last showed you them. But I reckon at next podcast it'll be very whip heavy. One of my goals is to tackle my whips. Anyway, that is everything. So thank you so much for joining me again. I feel ready and I feel back, and I'm very excited to share more of my knitting adventures with you as we go further into 2025. I really want to appreciate and thank everyone who has been patiently waiting. You're also fantastic, and of course, like always, you can find me on my Instagram on smash.knits, and everything will be linked down in the description below. I'm very excited to work on my whips and have more finished objects to show you next time, and then yeah, of course, you'll be seeing hopefully in 2 weeks time my next video, which will be all about me frogging those whips. But again, guess down below how many whips you think I actually have. I don't know, so when I edit the video and actually count how many it is, it'll be a surprise to both of us. If you comment down below the number of whips you think that I had, and you get it right, whoever gets the closest guess will get a little prize from me. So I'm I'm very nervous to see how many it is, considering I have currently 11 and those are the ones that I chose to keep. So, no, it's going to be more than 11. Alrighty, take care guys. I'll see you later. Bye.